We know from the NYPD's own statistics that discriminatory policing practices target black and brown bodies. We know from the NYPD's own data that these policing policies disproportionately affect young people aged 14 to 21. The policing of brown and black people begins with the color of our skin, our race, our ethnicity, our youth, our dress, our speech, but it does not end there. What is hidden in the official numbers is how the NYPD profiles us based on our actual or perceived sexual orientation and based on our actual or perceived gender expression and or identity. But research shows that the rates of racial disparity in stops of black and brown women are the same. Research shows that LGBTQ youth, like myself, are much more likely to have negative experiences with police, and we are more than twice as likely to report negative sexual contact with the police. These experiences look like a friend of mine, a trans-identified woman being told to unzip her pants to reveal her genitals. These look like a young queer person being profiled and arrested for a prostitution-related offense based on New York City condoms found on them during an NYPD search. They look like young women of color being sexually harassed and assaulted by police officers during stops, or being told by officers that they wouldn't get stopped if they didn't dress like a boy or act like a man. They look like my experience earlier this year when I was walking alone on the Lower East Side and a police officer pulled up with lights flashing. 3 police officers jumped out of the car and were yelling, "Stop, get against the wall, open your bag." Flashlights were shining in my face as their commands rang in my ears. I didn't know what to do. I put my hands on the wall. One officer took my bag while another began to aggressively frisk me. I asked them, why was I being searched? I said I didn't consent to the search. Like other times I've been stopped, I attempted to exercise my rights. Rights that I quickly learned I didn't have with the NYPD. But this time I was wearing high-heeled boots and tights. This time the police officer frisking me responded by calling me a faggot and grabbing my ass. They drove away after telling me they were looking for an open container, not a gun. They found nothing on me, and that violation of my rights went unaddressed. My body, my life as a young brown gay person is policed by the NYPD. Our bodies, our very beings as LGBTQ youth of color are policed by the NYPD. This is why we need the Community Safety Act. These bills would protect us from being profiled based on our race and also based on our age, our sexual orientation, our gender identity, our HIV status or disabilities, or the fact that we are disproportionately homeless. And by ensuring our right to not consent to a search is respected, whether we are being told to open up our pockets, open up our bag or purse, or submit to a gender check without any legal basis. The Community Safety Act will help ensure that in moments like I have described today, that our rights become a reality.
The NYPD's aggressive stop and frisk practices have to end. They're having a profound effect on individuals, groups, and families across the city. Most of the stops, 90%, are of innocent people who were neither arrested nor cited. That is why it's imperative that the City Council move quickly to pass the Community Safety Act. The draconian and discriminatory policy has become a code word for racial profiling and has led to such an outcry in New York and beyond. Stop and frisk undermines the safety of our communities and creates a rift between law enforcement and residents. When a crime-fighting tool is used to target innocent individuals, whether it's based on their race or their religion or their sexuality or their ethnicity, we leave our communities vulnerable to the true perpetrators of crime. Enough is enough. Too many people have been victimized and harmed by this policy. This is one struggle, one fight we're all committed to winning. The fight against stop and frisk is a fight for justice and equality, a fight that unites all of us as one movement. Police cannot be allowed to stop an individual whenever they don't like the way that person looks. It is a clear violation of personal freedom. The NYPD's motto is courtesy, professionalism, and respect. It's about time that Mayor Bloomberg and the NYPD took these words seriously when it comes to dealing with New Yorkers. It's time to end stop and frisk in New York City. Thank you.
It is time to end stop and frisk. 14 years ago, we thought Rudolph Giuliani was out of control and he was only doing $80,000 a year. Last year, Bloomberg did almost $700,000 a year. He lies and he tells people that he does this to make us safer. But answer me this, Mayor Bloomberg. How has Los Angeles decreased crime twice as far by ending racial profiling than you have by expanding racial profiling? You brag that you brought down crime 29% in 10 years, but you don't want anybody to know that LA has brought it down 59% in those same 10 years. It is time for the lies to stop. When a cop approaches 4 young ladies and says that they're trying to find a rapist in the neighborhood, and then proceeds to stop and frisk those 4 young ladies, they just stopped looking for the rapist. They just started doing something else. And it's time for the degradation of our young people, and our women, and our fathers, and our grandparents to end. This is a city where the world comes together, and you know what? As Frederick Douglass said over 150 years ago, 4/5 of the world is colored people. And it's time for New York City's finest to stop being afraid of 4/5 of this city. We are New York. We are this nation. We are this world. We deserve to be protected and respected, and the mayor needs to start doing his job and stop peddling fear. Now, the last thing I would say, and this mic is crazy, y'all, but the last thing I would say is this. Let me hear you if you were at Bloomberg's house for Father's Day. Let me hear you on the 70,000 people at Bloomberg's house for Father's Day. Now, people say that marching don't do much anymore, but I'll tell you this. What did we see right after that? The number of stop and frisk went down. What did we see right after that? San Francisco, where Mayor Bloomberg actually called up the mayor and said, please expand my stop and frisk program in San Francisco. The mayor thought about it, toyed with it, and said, no thank you, Mr. Bloomberg. And now we find out that just a few weeks after that march, the DA of the Bronx said, you know what? We're going to stop doing these prosecutions because these kids are innocent. And so what you have done is you have made the cops second guess themselves. You have made Mayor Bloomberg's peers second guess him. And you have made the DA second guess himself. And so now it's time for us to make the mayor himself second guess himself. Let's get rid of stop and frisk. Si se puede.
Continue to make sure that our voices are heard in New York City. Our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, the president and founder of the National Action Network, sent me here to tell you all that as activists, we have done what is necessary to ensure that our voices are heard, that the stop and frisk policy in New York City must go. We have done what is necessary to raise our voices and say that we will not be silent and watch our children be criminalized and our communities be dehumanized. We have done our part. It is now time that the elected officials in this city, the ones who look like us, who come to us for our votes, that they will go back to their offices and do what is necessary to protect our communities. So what we must do, brothers and sisters, is continue to raise our voices. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here in the middle of the day on a work day to say to City Hall that we respect ourselves and you must respect us as well. It is our jobs to protect our children. Our young people are broken, they are hurting, they are killing one another, and there is no protection for them. And this city has said that even the good ones are also criminals. We do not accept that. We do not accept our brothers and sisters being thrown up against the wall and treated as less than humans and as less than citizens. And so it is our job, the able mind, the blessed, those of us who know better, to stand up and make sure that our voices are heard. So I'm glad to stand with the Communities United for Police Reform, the NAACP, and the elected officials who have the nerve to stand up and say that we will not allow this to happen. Thank you all for being here. Let's continue to